Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
How are you beautiful Ugandans? It's your girl Kizza Besigye. Welcome to the fancy flow. Who doesn't see my hair, guys? I am super glamorous. Remember, this is the only show where we're going to be talking about fashion.
Please, where are you think? Teaching.
What has been confusing you about fashion? Sorry, you said I should not smile. For all the information about fashion, maintenance of body shape.
I can wear bling bling when I'm going out. So you can wear bling bling going out or any occasion.
We shall be doing all this in the fancy flow. Remember, it airs every Thursday right from 8:30 to 9 with your girl Kizza Besigye. It is the fancy flow.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk.
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Welcome to the Interface Show on the Alternative Uganda. Welcome to Digitalk TV. Welcome our dear viewers, wherever you are best to be tuned in to this show. It is such a wonderful Saturday that the Lord has given us, and we really appreciate Him. If at all you are still alive and kicking, you have a reason to really appreciate God who has given you life despite whatever you have gone through. This is the Interface Show, and I am Nixon Segawa, your host for the day, and we shall be discussing a number of issues with Dr. Kizza Besigye. There are a lot of things that have gone on throughout the week, and a lot of issues have gone on in our country, and Dr. Besigye, as promised and has always done, he is here so that we may discuss on how we can further and better our country. Doctor, I will want to invite you right now and say hi to our viewers. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Nixon, and indeed I hope you had a good week. A very good morning to all the viewers and listeners wherever you are joining us from on the Digitalk TV this morning. I hope you had a good week too, indeed. And those who have had challenges of different types, my heartfelt sympathies. And indeed, those who are celebrating any of the good events of the week, birthdays, weddings, and so on, I congratulate you on all those events. Yeah, it's been quite a week. Part of it, I was out of the country briefly to continue networking in the region. But yeah, the rest of the week I've been here and busy pursuing the struggle as usual.
All right, thank you, Doctor, for keeping the struggle alive. You, our viewers who are right there, I request you, please take this link and make sure you share it among your groups and call upon your friends to really watch and follow Doctor as he's taking us through a number of issues. Throughout this week, there are a lot of issues that have been going on. It is this very week that we saw the IGG coming up, and she's requesting that her mandate is stretched so that she can also investigate graft, corruption, and bribery within the private sector. That is an issue that perhaps we shall also, if at all we have time, to look into it. Our sisters and brothers of Senior 4, they also began their exams, and if at all I'm not mistaken, over 30 people were arrested in connection with examination malpractices. This week we have been seeing, I wouldn't want to call them rifts, but we saw a section of NRM youth that are coming out to order President Museveni that they need him to stand in 2026 elections. And on the other side, we are also seeing those who are pushing for the son, who is General Muhoozi, that they also want him to stand. We shall also be looking at the transition question. This has been an issue. The deal between President Norbert Mao of the Democratic Party and President Yoweri Museveni, the chairman of NRM. There is a lot that has been moving on. Even this week, the alternative Digitalk, this Digitalk TV, also petitioned the court over the Computer Misuse Act. Before I forget, and indeed I don't have to forget, our brother Sam Mugumya has received partly his freedom out of the detention center that he has been in Democratic Republic of Congo. Sam Mugumya was the AD of Dr. Kizza Besigye. He was arrested in 2014 and he has spent 8 years in detention center without any trial. We are going to begin from there, and we shall flow in our discussions, and we shall also dive into other topics. Please stay tuned. We are still here, and I know you are going to enjoy a lot. Doctor, we want to begin with our good friend, Sam Mugumya. You are the right person and the best person to really tell us what really happened and how he got into such a situation that has kept him in, that has took away all his rights for this long period of time.
Well, first of all, unfortunately, since he was indeed arrested and detained in the DRC in 2014, I have not had any opportunity to talk to him, much less to see him. And so all I say about his situation is hearsay, what I have heard from others, because I have not been able to communicate with him directly all this time. And, you know, briefly what we know is that he was abducted from Western Uganda. You know, Kunjiri is a district neighboring the DRC. We have a border with the DRC. And apparently they had been mobilizing, our usual mobilization of young people, in the process of which he was abducted. Just like you see the abductions that are going on now. They are not new. These abductions and kidnaps have been going on for a very long time. And then he was taken across into Congo.
So he was picked from here?
Yes, that's the information that we have. He was taken into Congo, detained first on the border posts there. Later on transferred to Beni. Beni is also not far from the Uganda border. On the upper side, you cross through Kasese to get to Beni through Mpondwe. And he spent there a few weeks, and then he was transferred to Kinshasa, Ndolo Military Detention Center. He was with 4 others, so they have been a group of 5, and they have stayed in that prison from then up to now. Last year, they were arraigned in court, a military court, of course,
okay.
and charged with being members of M23, which is...
You see, Doctor, from the time of their arrest, that time, the spokesperson of the UPDF, Pade Ankonda, that time said, at that very point, he connected it to M23, that he was arrested in connection to M23.
Yes, and they were... he was tried alone. The other 4 were also tried separately.
Okay.
And he was convicted of being a member of M23 and sentenced to 8 years in prison.
That is the last year.
Yes.
Okay.
Fortunately, they said the 8 years will take into account the time he had been in prison. And so the 8 years have ended. They ended yesterday, and he was freed. His colleagues are still there. They too were separately tried and convicted and sentenced of the same offense and sentenced 15 years in prison. Of course, there are processes trying to appeal that, but that is the situation surrounding Comrade Sam Mugumya. I think, what is, clear in all this, first of all, of course, there is absolutely no way he would have been a member of M23 because M23 has been, in fact, a force related to government and fighting in the DRC, against the DRC. So what interest would some have in becoming a member of...
Doctor, you said related to government.
Yes.
Which government are you referring?
The regime of NRM, the junta.
Is related to M23?
Of course, they were the ones housing them here. You remember when M23 was defeated in Congo by a joint force that included Tanzanians. Their commander was arrested and taken to the International Criminal Court, where he still is. Others fled into Uganda and were received and hosted by the Uganda government. Until about about 2 or 3 years ago, I think about 3 years ago, when they said that, the government said that in the camp where they had kept them, that they had escaped. So it's just, it defeats any form of logic to associate Sam Mugumya and his colleagues with the M23. It's absolutely ridiculous. And certainly, you know, I know for sure that he had absolutely no relationship to any fighting group, let alone M23 or any other. Because our position regarding the struggle has been very clear, that we are non-violent. And we don't mean it superficially. It's ideological. We believe that violence cannot deliver democracy. Violence can lead to change of leaders, but it will not deliver democracy. Our struggle is to end gun rule and have a transition to a political dispensation where the people's will rules, where popular mandate rules. That is the struggle. So we cannot be at the same time promoting gun rule. I have participated in an armed struggle. So I know, and if we wanted to engage in an armed struggle, we know how to do it. We can do it from here, certainly. We would have to do it from here, because this is the regime we want to fight. So there is no way Sam Mugumya would have been involved with fighting groups. What happened to him is exactly what is happening to the young people that are being daily picked by the junta, tortured, some killed and thrown in different places. So we must thank God that Mugumya and his colleagues are still alive, and we hope that they will eventually be free and back in Uganda to continue with the struggle.
To continue with the struggle.
Absolutely. We hope, and I am convinced that they will be still strong to do so, because I know them. I know some especially, that no amount of harassment, intimidation, torture can cause him to surrender or withdraw from the struggle. So I think what all this simply shows is that struggles are about sacrifices, people's sacrifices, people putting themselves knowingly in harm's way because challenging a vicious junta like we have of Mr. Museveni. You go knowing that you are going to meet harm, that you are in harm's way. There is no doubt about that. If you don't want to be in harm's way, don't get involved in the struggle.
Okay.
And so change is built on sacrifices of people. Ending, a violent regime like we have will take sacrifices of people. And many people have made immense sacrifices. Some 2 years ago, no, actually last year, about a year ago, one of our other colleagues, a young man called Moses Kamuswaga, was released from 10 years imprisonment. He was imprisoned in 2011. He came out of Kitaria in 2021 and was still strong, saying, I am continuing with the struggle for which I have paid this price.
So, Doctor, you are telling the youth and whoever is interested in joining the struggle that they should not expect a bed of roses.
Absolutely, and they know it, I'm sure. Because, freedom, any freedom, and change, it costs. There is nothing that you can do, even at a personal level. If you want to advance to any point, you have to make personal sacrifices. If you want to pass exams and go to a higher level, you have to spend sleepless nights reading and studying and doing, So there is nothing that comes on a silver platter, much less freedom. Freedom is fought for.
Okay.
And we have chosen to fight for our freedom very deliberately, using non-violence, but fighting the violent. The people we are fighting and we want to subdue, and whom we shall subdue, are the violent. And we want to show them that the non-violent can defeat the violent. That is the contestation that is there now. The non-violent will defeat the violent. Okay. It's not a pioneering job. It's what has always happened in all countries. The violent, because they are few, they are always eventually defeated by the majority who are non-violent.
Doctor, how are Ugandans, those that might run into exile in the neighboring countries, how safe are they with what we are seeing that happened to Mugumya? Picked from here and then imprisoned in the neighboring country.
Yeah, so before I come to that, I really hope that having traumatized these young people the way they have, I hope that at the very least, they will grant some travel documents, because he has no travel documents that can assist him in flying back.
Doctor, do we know of any arrangements of him coming back? Or
Yes, there are some colleagues there who are trying to help so that he gets travel documents from the Uganda embassy.
Okay.
And then he comes back, and I hope we shall all be ready to receive him and, get him through a process of healing and reintegration into what we are doing. So my appeal is that the embassy, which is an embassy that we pay for, this is not a request that is we are begging. No, it's a duty. They have a duty, we believe. We're just asking that they find it fit to carry out their duty to facilitate this citizen of Uganda with documents so that he can come back home.
So, Doctor, they can even frustrate that?
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't want to impute any motives yet.
Okay.
He got out yesterday, so the first working day is on Monday, and so we hope that on Monday approach will be made to the embassy, and that's when we can know whether they are helpful or not. I wouldn't want to suggest anything at this stage, but only to indicate that we expect that consular service will be rendered. Yeah, okay. And of course, to continue praying indeed for his colleagues, Stephen Mugisha, Nathan Bright, Joseph Kamugisha, and Agre Kamukama. These are 4 other people who are still in that prison without any any reason to be there. We shall continue, pressing through the legal processes there.
Doctor, one would be wondering, where has the opposition players been in all this process, and how are they helping their colleagues out of all this?
Well, Sam has been always, of course, a member of the Forum for Democratic Change, and the Forum for Democratic Change has been engaged with his situation right from the time he was detained. They have been following up. Some of the leaders, actually, Winnie Kizza, when she was the leader of opposition, she went to that prison in Congo and met him. Supported him psychologically and so on, and so the party has been following, and even now, the arrangements that I'm talking about, I think the party is engaged with that.
Doctor, one would be wondering, as the immediate boss to Sam, what steps did you really take to help him out? More so when you said you haven't been in touch with him ever since.
Well, first of all, in the struggle, we have no bosses. That is
just a term used.
A terminology that is alien to us.
Okay.
In the struggle, we are colleagues.
Okay.
We are activists together. We are comrades. There is no boss and bossed. And one of our enduring principles is to support each other in all situations. Whether they are good or bad situations, we hold each other's hand. And that is absolutely necessary to have, each one hold the other's hand. Because, as I have said, struggle is tough. It's challenging, can cause sometimes to be, very low in your mood, and so you need to support, encourage each other, and help each other in all situations, including just how to survive, welfare, because we all live in. We invest most of our time in struggle, so we don't have a lot of means to subsist, to live, and so we must help each other. If somebody doesn't have lunch, and you have lunch, you split it, and so that you can all continue. So yes, to whatever extent we have been able to do in supporting Sam where he's been and his colleagues, we have been doing so, and we shall continue to do so.
Okay, Doctor. Now we get into that other question of how safe we are if we cannot even run to our neighbors and receive protection.
You see, maximum safety should always be sought at home. The saying that east-west home is best is not idle.
Okay.
It's only in Uganda where we can have and enjoy maximum citizenship rights, including the protection of those rights. The only place you can have and be ensured of maximum rights and protection of those rights and the enjoyment of your freedom is only where you are the citizen. And that is in Uganda. So once you lose that in your country, know that wherever you go, you have less access to that. You have less access to freedom, you have less access to rights than you would enjoy in your own home. But over and beyond that, you know, especially in the African region, unfortunately, you find that either the dictators have a club
That's so interesting.
and they cooperate in suppressing their people. So if you run here to another dictator's place, they will follow you there, because the other dictator will also be having people
You are running.
who are running here and expecting similar
So he has to pay back.
similar, you know, access to continue harassing their people. So the region, the African region, is generally unsafe. When I stayed in South Africa, and South Africa, by all standards, should be more secure. It has more developed institutions, professionalized. It has more resources to support those institutions. And that's why, you know, I selected to stay in South Africa when I ran away from here. I first stayed in Zambia.
Okay.
And it became, I soon realized that it was extremely unsafe.
Sure.
Yes.
They are following you up.
Yes, and remember that time there was also Dr. Bote, who was also in Lusaka. And so there was a lot of security deployment in Lusaka, and eventually I considered that it was unsafe and moved on to South Africa. But I was nearly killed in South Africa. I was saved by the South African security, so maybe my decision was correct, because they detected the problem that was around me before I was able to detect. And so they warned me and gave me advice on how to improve on my security and so on and so forth. So it's not safe. In fact, last week, early this week, as I have told you, I was in Nairobi. And I got disturbing reports that actually some people who had run into Kenya were abducted and brought back here. So, yeah, so, but you know, when you are fleeing, you flee from the most dangerous place to less dangerous places, not necessarily to safe place. So if Uganda is the most dangerous, you flee to the next level, which is still maybe dangerous, but less dangerous. So and from there you can then maneuver and go to an even more safer location. Yeah, so that is the situation. But you know, I'm really, really thankful to God and relieved that Sam is eventually getting to some better place than he's been in the last 8 years.
So he has served the term that was given to him.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes. Doctor, when we talk of these political prisoners and then abductions, we are seeing the return of drones in the country. What does that speak to?
No, there is nothing new. It's not a return as if they had gone away. They have never gone away. They only intensify and maybe slow down a bit. You see, what we are dealing with is a regime that is grossly unpopular, and it knows it. And in order to maintain itself in office, in order to forcefully, it's ruling by force. Because it's not ruling by will of the people. It's ruling by force. Not any different from how we were before independence, where a group of people by force take control of the country and maintain that control by force. So what force, the way force is exercised is making sure that they coerce. That's why, you know, the police, the military, they are called coercive institutions. They are institutions to coerce, to force people to do what they would not otherwise be willing to do, you know? And so these abductions, torture, and so on are meant to intimidate the minds of others. So the harm is not only
On those
directed on those captured, but they use the capture to intimidate and cause a chilling effect on the minds of the majority out there. That's why even they want the tortured to be seen. You know, so they beat Kakwenza to pulp and then let you see what happened to him.
No hiding.
Yes, so that, and that's why, you know, some of us, even when enduring some of those situations, we would not like to give the torturers the benefit, first of all, that we feel their pain, you know. You can endure, you can beat you and you just grind your teeth and not give them the benefit of enjoying seeing the effect of their pain on you. But even more importantly, to deliver their pain to the population, to show the population that, you know, you are under terrible pain and suffering. You can absorb it and deny them the benefit of terrorizing others through you. And so sometimes we deliberately do not publicize our suffering so that it does not
work in their favor.
Yes, because that's their intention.
You are still watching The Interface with Dr. Kizza Besigye, and we are still getting into a lot of discussions. A lot of people have been abducted and a lot are still missing. We don't know where they are, and it's our role and duty to at least find out and push government to make sure that we at least get to know where our brothers and sisters are being incarcerated. Doctor, do you think the opposition or the political players, you are doing much to help this situation of many that are being abducted? Since we came out of the recent general elections, many youth are still missing.
Yeah, but you see, what can those who are being terrorized do? As I have been incessantly pointing out, there are two types of people in this country. The captives and those who captured them by force. So we are all prisoners for all intents and purposes. Some have slightly more freedom than others, but we are all prisoners. And our situations are not different. In fact, if you visit the prison and see how people live in prison, and you see those who are supposed to be free, you can hardly find a difference. In fact, in some cases, prisoners live better than the ones who are outside. At least they are assured of a roof over their heads. The prison is roofed. They have 1 meal a day assured. The ones outside may not get that
Assurance.
that 1 meal. You know, they have some uniform, they have clothes. You find the ones outside may not have, and so on and so forth. So we are prisoners, and the captives have limited actions in response to the use of force by the captors. You know? So, you know, you have seen people who are being grabbed. They resist, but
Eventually they are grabbed.
eventually they are taken. Now, so what needs to be done is not just to respond to the individual actions of those who have captured us, but to organize and end that captivity. That is the real solution. The real solution. So, Mugumya may come out of prison today, but remains still in prison. He is moving from one prison to another location in the prison. So, the situation of what will end this imprisonment of our rights, of our freedoms, of our economic opportunities, of our social service needs, what will end this captivity is to organize, fight, and defeat those who are holding us captive. And that's what I have been calling on all citizens to focus on. You see, let's not be diverted into other things they want us to be diverted into. You know? And maybe that really brings me to what you were talking about, the whole question of transition.
Yes, Doctor.
Because how will this end? How shall we end gun rule? This debate every Ugandan should have. We shall not end gun rule by complying with the dictates, with the demands of those who rule us. We cannot end by submitting ourselves to their will. No. We must disobey them. We must end our obedience to those who rule us by force. We must defy them. That is
work with them.
That is so. that is the bottom line. Okay. We did not end colonialism by submitting to colonialism. No. Colonialism ended because people disobeyed it, defied it, resisted it until it was broken.
Okay.
We must defy, disobey, resist those who rule us by force. We must. And you know, so why have we failed to do so far? First, it is appreciation. You know, our appreciation, our understanding of the situation.
Okay.
you find is not clear in many segments of our society. Because those who hold others by force don't only use force. Force helps them to achieve certain things,
Okay.
which then they use to achieve others. So what force helps them to do first is to control our wealth.
Our resources
Yes. So force,
helps.
they use force to control our resources. And therefore to determine who is where, who is unwell. And that is in itself a lot of power of control.
Okay.
So if they determine who will eat and who will not eat, and if you are to eat, they say, if you are to eat, you must submit to us. You must be obedient in order to eat. Then most people will be faced with that choice. You know?
Okay.
So should I live as a slave but who gets something? Or should I resist,
Resist and have nothing.
face the challenges of resisting, but with the hope to be free? That even during colonial time, that was the case. Even when there was slavery, the slavery of Africans in Europe, in America, where the ending slavery was faced with that. Because slaves had to start resisting. And some would be killed, some would be tortured, some would be denied food, denied this, and so it was safer to maintain your slave status. This is where we are, and for the young people especially, you have to make up your mind whether you want to live in this country by permission of others, who will then choose what they give you, what they don't give you, what opportunity they allow you, what they don't allow you. It's a choice. It's a choice we have to make. Those who want to live that way and those who want to live in Uganda as citizens by right, who have a full range of rights. Now, to achieve that, we have to fight for it. We have to resist. We have to defy. We have to disobey those who want the status quo to remain.
Doctor, we don't dialogue that.
You can't dialogue when you have amassed enough force to change the thinking of the one who captured you.
So, Doctor, in the case of the DP president, Norbert Mao, and his approach to the transition, what's your take on his approach?
I don't know what his approach is, frankly. And I think you people who are in media should interrogate him. What I know is that there is some confusion, deliberate confusion about what transition means. Even those who are talking about Muhoozi, they say it will be transition from the old generation to the new younger generation. There is a transition from the old generation to the young generation. Is it the transition Mao is talking about? I don't know. The transition we are talking about is transition of power from those who use force to acquire it and maintain it to the population. That's the transition we are talking about. This transition, we have actually written it down. We have small booklets. I will show you one of those booklets before this show ends, where we have detailed what transition we are talking about.
Okay.
The transition from gun rule to the rule of people's will.
So, Doctor, it's not about changing presidents and...
No. So, since independence, and more especially since the advent of the military taking political decisions in 1966, when the military deposed the first president, the Kabaka of Uganda, when the military came out of the barracks and deposed the president, from then up to now, power is with those who have guns. Whether it was the Obote government, Obote one government after 1966, it was gun rule. The Constitution of 1967 was a gun constitution. The 71, it was, of course, the gun rule of Idi Amin, and so on up to today. So it doesn't matter. If Muhoozi succeeds his father, he is succeeding the gun power. The power of the gun is what he will succeed, is what he will take over.
And it's what he will push on.
And of course, it's what he will take on. That is what must end.
Okay.
And that's why we say that the fight is for transition, not succession. We must separate the transition, and the transition being transition from gun rule to people rule. Now, if this is the transition that Mao is talking about, he then must tell us how Mao or anybody will convince those with guns to simply surrender the power they captured by force. That he will sweet talk them into giving it cannot happen, and he knows it. You know that's why I am rather unhappy with Mao, because while he was leading DP or even before, I have had a lot of personal engagements with him. So he knows, I am aware that he knows. He himself has said so on many occasions, that it's not possible to work within Museveni government and you claim that you will go where you want to go. He knows it. So he's clearly being deceitful and deliberately deceitful. There is no way gunmen will simply hand over. Not the British would never have gone if they were not challenged. All who have left would never have gone if they were not challenged. Nowhere has a group of people that captured power handed it over because it is reasonable to do so, because it's the right thing to do. No. And of course, when they capture power, they build a narrative around it that seeks to attach legitimacy to themselves. You've heard them saying we have been elected.
Yes.
You know, but there is an election every 5 years. So why did you go to the bush? There was an election. You know, Mr. Museveni should be the most, ashamed person to advance an argument that because there is an election, he is legitimate. When he went to the bush after an election, and actually an election in which he was
defeated.
Not just defeated, where he was inconsequential, where he had no impact of any kind, because
I can hear that.
he did not even expect to have any impact in the election. You know, I was in the same party like him.
Okay.
You know, the big opposition at that time, which was, of course, should have been the ruling party, was DP, whose victory was undermined. But DP chose to go to parliament and become an opposition. So why did Museveni go to the bush? If he can argue that he has been elected, that's why he is in office. You know? You only became elected with guns. When you didn't have guns, you could not be elected. You know? So how do we separate what? Because he did not become a president through an election.
Yeah.
He became a president because of guns. And the guns he overthrew them because they had caused somebody else to become a president. So that's why the struggle must be for subordination of the guns. And to do that, citizens must resist. Citizens must defy those with guns. And I have said this many times, that in order to do so, we need two critical steps if we are to resist and defeat those with guns. Two critical steps. The first one is our minds. We must liberate our minds. We cannot liberate the country when our minds are captive. To fear, to, lack of understanding, captive to, because, as I have said, those who capture the country create fear. The reason they keep us captives, first of all, they create a lot of fear in our minds, that they are going to kill us, they are going to torture us, they are going to imprison us, they are going to deprive us of the little we could have. They will take it away or they will deny it. So we live in fear, you know. And even now, when you hear parish model, they are there intimidating people in the village. You know, if you are not a good NRM, you will not benefit.
Not benefit.
So you find people now, they are poor, but what can we do, you know? So that is the whole thing of intimidation. I was almost late coming to this program because we were stopped around Mukwano for a long time because there were these young men running whom they are recruiting to go and terrorize us. They were busy running, you know, the whole place is filled with young men looking for jobs of being, I don't know whether these were crime preventers or whether they are being recruited into UPDF. They are being recruited into some establishment to create fear. So fear imprisons us. We must overcome fear and know that this is our country, these are few people, and we can defy them, we can defeat them, like we defeated the British, who were much, much more powerful because they were an empire. We defeated an empire. We cannot fail to defeat these fellows, now describing themselves as Bachwezi, very primitive. We cannot fail to defeat them. So the fear. Secondly, is you know, the divide and rule, because they know they are few, and the only way they will maintain that power against a huge majority of dissatisfied people is to divide that majority into small groups and cause conflicts among them so that they are not united against their common problem. That is a major, major way of keeping people in captivity, divide them, cause conflicts amongst them. And that is the biggest challenge we have now in our captivity. You know, where you find captives quarreling, even fighting amongst themselves. That must stop. We must end that nonsense of fighting amongst ourselves as captives. And thinking that, you know, because you are FDC, the one of DP is an enemy, the other one of NUP, you know what? All these are just captives. So, at this stage of struggle, de-emphasize your labels of which part of captivity you live in. De-emphasize the labels. You know, me, I'm red. I'm a red captive. Me, I'm a blue captive. Me, I'm a, even those in yellow. You know, the NRM. They are captives there. You know, but they don't know. So we must end that captivity and unite.
Okay, thank you for watching. We are going to break for a short break, and when we return, Doctor is still taking us through this transition question and how we should differentiate it with the succession talk. Let us rest for a minute and then come back. Keep here.
How are you beautiful Ugandans? It's your girl Digitalk. Welcome to the Fancy Floor.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
You have got to get up pretty early to go do something. We are the Alternative Digitalk. With our mobile studios, we are redefining TV presentation just as technology is setting the pace. We are blending our approach with fresh, perspectively designed breakfast show, The Mighty Drive, informative and entertainment show, exclusive and live interviews.
We President Museveni wadde juzi namulaba apima akawunga kilo 2 tasobola kalya nini bwaba alya kilo 5 oyanema okuliisa eggwanga ne bwe limundekera.
Njagala kwebaza the Alternative Digitalk etuwadde kano ka Mighty Drive era n'abatuwuliriza bonna abali ku mikutu njagala basaba mugendo maaso n'okuwuliriza.
All given to you just a click away on your phone, tablet, laptop, and smart TVs. As we are streaming live on our social media platforms, on the road and on the go. We are the Alternative Digitalk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk,
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
You are welcome from that short break, and we are still here. We are still discussing the issue of transition. Doctor still has a lot of insights. He really wants to educate Ugandans on which kind of transition. You know, we are talking of transition. People are talking of transiting from joblessness into acquiring jobs. People are saying, I'm so tired of being in opposition, and now it is time that I also join government. And to such a person, he may call it a transition. But we really want to dig deeper and understand this transition question according to Doctor, and what is the best for Uganda. Yes, Doctor, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's not according to me. I think it's according to really many people. That's what advised the formation of the People's Front for Transition.
Okay.
So, and you know, the front is meant to accommodate people of all types. You know, the point I was saying, whether you are putting on yellow or you are coming in green or in what, you all come together to face a common problem. So you create a front to face the common problem. Okay. And we have also been very clear in terms of what that transition, if we break down the force that captures us, if it is defeated, what next? How does the transition play out until we have free and fair elections? And we crystallized the highlights of that in this small booklet called the Transition Agenda.
The camera person should
yes,
highlight
it's called
that
the
too.
Transition Agenda. And under the People's Front for Transition. So it spells out after NRM, regardless of how it goes, whether it is defeated and it collapses completely, whether it under pressure accepts a dialogue, what should we dialogue to achieve? So the agenda for transition is here. We won't start thinking, so what do we do now after you have achieved the transition? That's partly what undermined struggles like the Egyptian one. Because they were able to defeat the force that was holding Egypt into captivity, but then did not have clarity on what was the bottom line that had to be done going forwards. And then they quickly disagreed, and you know, and that allowed the force to re-emerge and take over. So I would like to invite, it's also in a soft, there is a soft copy of this, which you can find on our platforms to see the transition agenda. even before we created the transition agenda, we outlined what the crisis in Uganda today.
That's very important.
What are we trying to end? What is the nature of the crisis that we have? And it's crystallized in this small booklet. So it's important that we, Mao should not vulgarize transition.
He's vulgarizing it.
Yes, to think that, you can go and negotiate it in a DP document with Museveni.
This is an agreement.
This is a major thing. Where if they want people to read it, they should publicize it. Because I'm telling you, the transition agenda is anybody can read it.
Okay.
So if you have an agreement about transition, publish it. We see what it's all about. So the transition here has the component of ending gun rule. That is the first component.
Okay.
We must end gun rule. And then we must undertake actions now by the population who have regained their power and influence. The population must now decide how that power is managed going forwards. That is the transition. This is why I was telling you that, proposals like has been in the field for a long time by Mulika, OHT Daniel Mulika, who has been talking about a new consensus by the peoples of Uganda, the nations of Uganda. Because Uganda is a multinational country. So those nations that were forcefully brought together should have the opportunity to peacefully negotiate a consensus of how to carry on as a new free Uganda.
Okay.
That is part of the transition, that we now distribute power. It is not maybe concentrated at the center, which is the source of all these conflicts, that we distribute power, that we maybe see how to create new institutions that are independent, like you saw the Kenyans do, how to create a judiciary that is not beholden to the president, how to create armed forces that are independent and competent, how to create, so that we build, all that is transition.
Okay.
And once you have a new consensus, you have institutions to take that consensus into practice, then you can have leaders to manage that through a free and fair election that then ends the transition. So now the first and most critical part is, how do we procure the transition?
Yes.
How do we defeat those who captured Uganda? And as I have said, there are two critical steps.
Okay.
And I would want to hear Honorable Mao tell us otherwise. The critical steps is for all individual citizens to become conscious of the importance of their freedom and their power, because it is their power that will determine their welfare. That we can now decide that our money will educate our children first. That once we make that decision, nobody else will change it and say, me, I want to buy guns, No, our money will educate our children, our money will provide us health, our money, we can make priorities now as citizens.
With our money.
Yes. So to do that, we must be aware that as citizens, we have to fight for it. So, mental orientation, mindset change among citizens, especially the young people of Uganda. Because you are the ones who are going to live in captivity for a very long time. You know, we have been saying that this oil should not flow to the hands of the captors. People who captured our oil should not have control over it. That's an area where we should all fight. Make sure oil comes to the people of Uganda, not to Mr. Museveni and his henchmen who captured the country. So it starts with fighting for our survival. Okay. And so once we know that, yes, I am ready to cause change, we must organize. That's the second stage. We must organize to cause change. That organization is where I am saying we must unite. Organization, among other things, includes getting together, because the regime, those who capture us, will do everything in their power to keep us apart. We must unite. Okay. Therefore, if I hear anybody, you know, in FDC saying, why are you meeting NUP? You are an enemy. You are in FDC. We have enemies all over the place. Enemies of unity are enemies of change. Are enemies of liberation. If you don't want unity, you are an enemy of liberation. Whether you are in NUP, whether you are in FDC, whether you are in DP, whether you are in NRM, if you don't want the captives to unite, and urgently, then you are an enemy. We must isolate you. And the reason some of our people are trapped in wanting these cocoons, it is for leaders who are trying to get jobs during captivity. That's one of the dangers we face now. Okay. People looking for jobs during captivity. He wants to become a counselor. So instead of ending captivity, he's looking at 2026. That, you know, I'm preparing for 2026 for an election so that I become a counselor. You are an enemy of liberation. Sure. Anybody who is focused on an election organized by Museveni is an enemy of liberation. Because that election is not going to give us freedom. Okay. And it's going to be used to divide us. That's what, so all elections have been weakening our forces. First, even within the parties, primary elections, that's where the division starts. And the enemy is involved. It's not just that. Even in internal elections, yes. They give money to this one, to that one. You fight, you. So we must take our eyes from the election, unite to regain our power fast. That is where Norbert Mao and all those who think like that are dangerous, just taking us into a slaughter, into a killing ground that, you know, maybe you want dialogue when you have not built any power to cause your demands to be respected, you know, or that you want to maybe reforms. There's some people talk about we want to reforms of the law. How can you reform the minister?
He now wants to push for reforms.
Yes.
The constitution.
Let Norbert Mao inform the country what he has in mind to reform impunity. What is the appropriate reform for impunity? In other words, for the disrespect for the law with impunity, you know, to say, I don't care. Because all they are doing is not provided for by the law. the law does not provide for kidnap of citizens.
So that means no amount of laws he's planning to make shall be...
Laws are only applicable when there is a rule of law. So if there is no rule of law, you as Justice Minister, which law are you then pursuing? There is no rule of law. And there is no reform that I am aware of against the absence of the rule of law. Or people who govern with impunity, who are not affected by laws and rules, who do whatever they want because they have force to support it. What reform can change that? So you only make laws and reforms when you have power to implement them. The people of Uganda simply have no power. That's why the laws they make, the constitution we made in 1995, where is it? It's gone. So what laws are you talking about? So what we need is, let's understand that we have to fight. Let's organize and let's defy, resist, attack, and break down our captivity. Then organize the transition to a free society. That is the way to go.
All right, you are still on the interface with Dr. Kizza Besigye, and the issues are still hot here, and you really need to listen into. At this moment, I'll open up for the calls, and if at all you have any suggestion, if you have any issue to add on, you can call us on 0789 017 145, 0789 017 145. You can also call us on the Airtel line on 0759 132 310, 0759 132 310. Doctor, you've talked of people in the struggle looking for jobs, and there is a comment here from one of the people following. Johnson Maganja says, I have seen people who have been in the opposition take up positions offered by the government, and I am like, if such a proposal came up for Dr. Kizza Besigye, would he accept it?
Well, but I was in government, so I had a position. I fought very hard to leave it because I was trapped. I was not being allowed to leave. It had to take a fight to break free in order to fight for the broader freedoms. So, yes, some people, you see, this is why I said, you know, that people have different aspirations in life. Some people will be comfortable to live as slaves as long as they are given some food to eat and so on. But that's not the way citizens should live. That's not how countries should be run. Citizenship is about rights. And we should not compromise on that. And we can get jobs in a free Uganda. So why should you aspire for a job in slavery when you can get a job in freedom? Except that you have to do a little more to achieve that. So...
Okay, Doctor, we have a caller. Yes, hello? Hello? Yes, hello? You can call again and speak to Doctor. You can ask him a question, and you can also comment on whatever we've been discussing. Yes, Doctor, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so, you know, if I wanted a job in the government, I could have also possibly gotten it. because although I know that where there is power is guarded by guns, but if you want to go to parliament which has no power, yes, I mean,
Doctor.
there is no, of course, there is no power in parliament, but you can go there and get a job and earn something, you know. And so if I wanted to get a job in parliament, I believe I could have, because that is, and the people with power don't mind if you're just going to parliament to go there and talk this and that, because there is nothing there, there is no power there.
Doctor.
They don't mind. Or if you want to be appointed, maybe ambassador, maybe what, they can give you, provided you are not taking power. And that's...
so that's how our brother Mao got a job.
Well, I think he should speak for himself. but I mean, clearly, of course, he has absolutely no power. He has nothing. He has a salary. So that is a difference. He has a salary, he has a car. I hear he has soldiers, even those who challenge him now are in difficulties. But power, no. So, you know, I invite Ugandans to regain confidence. I think that's what, unfortunately, has been crushed in large sections of our people. The loss of confidence that you can survive and thrive without a government job. You know, that confidence is necessary. That's why you see even the professors speak in Ludicha, you know, because they are looking for some government job. It's very, very sad, because then you will definitely be compromised. You cannot pursue your own sense of what is good for the country.
So, Doctor, you are meaning that if at all one wants power, he should not risk working with the government. So does that mean those who are joining government, they simply gave up on the pursuit of power?
No, I wouldn't want to stretch it to that, because actually there are many people who are in government jobs that have been supporting what we do.
Sure.
Yes. And it's important that they do, because in a struggle you have to be tactical also.
Okay.
Even when we were fighting in the bush, we had many supporters in the government who would send us food, who would send us clothes, who would quietly. And they were able to do that because they were earning. So I am not against people earning in the government, including Norbert Mao. The only thing is if you earn telling lies, you know that then you are not being helpful. You can earn and quietly, you know, support the real struggle. And parliament can also be used, provided you are prepared to spend there only one term.
One term?
Yes, then you can use it very effectively as a platform to really advance the struggle, because it's a privileged platform. You are free to talk. You have more visibility because you are honorable member of parliament. So you can use it to expose the dirt in the government, because you have access, formal access to government places, you can demand information, you can be very helpful in parliament. Except that when you do that, you will not come back. So you must be prepared. And most people become compromised because they also still want, they see parliament as a job for a long time. So they will want to, they call it be balanced. That, that you know, that's what they demand of them. Don't be very aggressive in exposing us. You can say some, you know, some things, and also say good things about government. They say, you know, you give credit where it is due. So if there is some tiny thing the government has done, you shine a light on it. Then you criticize a little. Then you are okay. You know, you can stay in the parliament. They can even give you money to win your next election, even if you are not NRM. But you are there. You know, you are not really helpful in ending the captivity. You are a massager. You are there.
So, Doctor.
So people can be helpful even when they earn from government.
Okay.
Support the struggle quietly, and there are many who do that. Or use the platform to effectively expose, you know, dissect what the criminality that is there. One can really be, and then you must be careful, of course. You don't eat the sumbusa. Then you are helpful in that visible way. So you can be helpful visibly or quietly.
Doctor, when you talk of the one term that you would recommend for a member of parliament, would that mean that the colleagues in opposition that have stayed there for a number of terms, they are now less?
Absolutely. Check them out. Check them out. Those who have been there, you know, 3 terms, they will be there, you know, floating, but they will not be useful.
All right, you are still on the interface, and we are with Dr. Kizza Besigye. You can still call us on 0789 017 145, or you can also call us on 0759 132 310. You can also drop your comment, and we shall be reading up your comments. And you can ask a question to the doctor, and you can also comment on what we are discussing. Doctor, we have a comment from a one called Besigye. He says, after carefully listening to the kind of transition you advocate for, I can say without fear of contradiction that you are the most intelligent leader Uganda has ever had. Asimwe Ismail.
Maybe that's why he's Besigye.
Okay. Asimwe Ismail says, conscious awakening. Fellow Ugandans, we must reclaim our country from NRM. He calls them vultures. Twesigye Rollins says, indeed, the Bachwezi are very primitive. Johnson Majanga still says, if you get up every day and you don't learn, you are a fool. Okay, that's a comment that is from Johnson Majanga. Doctor, in this very week, the IGG comes up and all that. Okay, we have a caller. Yes, hello. Yes, hello. To us. Yes, hello. Okay. We have lost that caller. We shall handle that. Yes, Doctor, the IGG wants the mandate widened to touch the private sector. They say that there is a lot of graft, there is a lot of corruption, there is a lot of bribery that is being seen within the private sector, and that the IGG should stretch the mandate to also touch them. That's a debate that is coming up, and
you see, we shouldn't take a lot of time on that, because as I told you earlier, all institutions of government are captive. They are captured. All of them. They are institutions of Mr. Museveni. They are captive. All of them. And of course, he's the one who appoints whoever goes there. And their purpose is for regime protection. So, yes, the IGG will target those who the regime wants to target.
Okay.
Not the real, because the regime is a regime of corruption anyway. It's built on corruption from A to Z. So the only people they will target are those whose corruption does not support the sustenance of the regime. By the way, in the same week, I think,
Yes.
the same Mr. Museveni, I think, was summoning the IGG and the Commissioner of Lands
Yes, yes.
and some other people over corruption. the same
This is
week.
Uganda.
So the same president whom the IGG should be investigating, because that's the center of corruption actually. If he was to be an effective IGG, the starting point would be State House, because that's where all mega corruption comes from. If there is any thief in Uganda's government who is being chased,
Okay.
you'll see them all enter the gates of State House. All the major big thieves, that's where they run to, that's where they come from. So IGG, even before asking for any other power, if it was an office even minutely worth its name, its eyesight would be focused on State House.
Okay.
But as I have said, it is the same State House summoning the IGG over corruption. Over corruption scandals. In fact, Museveni has another outfit in State House
Yes.
called, I think, State
Corruption
State House and Corruption Unit.
Yes.
So the State House and Corruption Unit is investigating the IGG
Over corruption.
over corruption and all other people and summoning them. So these institutions, they should just eat their money and not disturb Ugandans with their noise or whatever that they are serving Ugandans in any way. And of course, do the bidding of the one who appointed them, Mr. Museveni, who is the controller of all these institutions and who uses them as he wants.
Yes, hello. Hello.
Hello?
Yes, hello.
Hello?
Yes, hello. You can go ahead and tell us your name and where you are calling from. Hello. Okay.
You need technical support to.
Okay, we shall have that sorted out.
Yeah, so corruption,
Yes.
you see, must start with having a government that is accountable to the people, because all the money that is used by government, 100% of it is the people's.
True.
So government applies people's money. Government must be accountable to the people. So the first IGG should be the people who is questioning why government is not using the money in their interest and for their benefit and according to their dictates, the dictates of the people.
Okay.
So if you have a government that is not accountable, and we have already said that a government that comes into power by force and stays there by force cannot be accountable to the people. Because the people of Uganda have never removed any leader from office. Never. So they cannot cause the leader to account to them. Indeed, you have seen Mr. Museveni in your teaser, the opening teaser. You show Museveni saying, I'm not a servant of anybody. So if you are not our servant, you cannot account to us. So if government cannot account to people, then the IGG is totally irrelevant. Just a waste of money. Totally irrelevant. If you abolished the institution of the IGG today, there would be absolutely no change. Absolutely none. Zero. So, in fact, I would suggest that instead of expanding the mandate, as you call it, of the IGG, the money that is budgeted for the IGG should be entirely, the whole budget should be sent to maybe persons with disabilities, to NUP. We can send all that budget to NUP. Uganda will be much better. Or send that budget to orphanages in Uganda. They divide it amongst orphanages. Uganda will be much, much better than it is served now with the IGG, who is being summoned for
over what she has to investigate.
Yes.
Doctor, we also have a comment. This one says, Pastor Musasizi Amon from Chegegwa. President Kizza advise us if elections can no longer bring change in our country. What else should we do to bring change? How to start that movement?
Well, the movement is on, as I have said.
Okay.
I told you that we are already here, the People's Front for Transition. So, anybody, whether is Pastor Musasizi?
Yes.
Yes, in your pastoring work, just get anybody you get in contact with to appreciate the need to fight for their right. Secondly, to appreciate the need to organize in order to do so. And I've said that we organize at 3 levels. First, or regardless of whatever organization, we come together.
Okay.
And we already have many organizations that are in the front, People's Front for Transition, PFT. We have FDC, we have JEMA, we have Conservative Party, we have the DP bloc. Those are elements of DP that are not with Mao. We have a number of institutions, UPC, which is not with Akena, because there is a UPC that is captured and a UPC that is outside, led by Senior Counsel Mukidi Warubiri. We have all these institutions in the PFT.
Okay.
As we talk, we are having discussions, advanced, I must say, discussions with the National Unity Platform.
Okay.
On how to widen and have a broader, an even broader front that does not only include the politicals, but that includes also civil society. Civil society that includes faith-based organizations, that includes the cultural bodies, that all of us together, which is the range of citizens, you know, business organizations, that we all unite around a common front, saying we must have a transition, all of us. So that process is still going on, of how to build as wide a working together system as possible, focused on transition. And so, to Musasizi, wherever you are, in whatever form the people you conscientize are organized, whether they are in FDC, whether they are in any other political organization, whether they are in the civil society, then we are linking up. We are all linking up together, and you will be informed more about this. But over and beyond the visible organization, we also have the quiet organization, because the visible organization is going to be attacked by those who don't want to leave their power they captured. They will attack it, they will look for ways of weakening it. So we organize also at quiet, non-visible level. And that organization, quiet organization, again amongst our very people, amongst the bodas, quiet organization, amongst the market women and the market men, and quiet organization amongst the students, amongst the all forms of youth groups. That organizing is going on. So even when some people say, but what is going on? We are not seeing you. You are because they want to see you when you are in action.
In action, yes.
But action is the final event of organization.
Okay.
Even in war, the actual fighting is takes a very short time. What takes much more time is preparation for war.
Okay.
Training. Must have intensive training, recruitment, practicing what you have trained. So there are preparations that must go on. And we have not done very well. I'm not happy. We have not done very well in achieving this.
Okay.
We could have already caused the change we want. But we cannot remove at the speed that our people can afford from many angles. How fast they appreciate, they understand the situation. Even now, there are many people who simply don't understand what we are talking about, what transition it is, how we can achieve it. There are many. So it's a process of getting a critical mass, not that everybody must understand, but a critical mass, a large enough population to understand, to be ready, to be knowledgeable about what to do, to be prepared to do it, and then it will happen. But I am confident, you see, because I think our people have never been reduced to the kind of marginalization, living on the edges of life as they are today, especially the young people. When you go to Entebbe Airport and see on a daily basis thousands of young people,
Thousands.
you know, being led into slavery by a regime, you know. When we were in the bush, you know, in the political lessons we used to have, we used to really criticize badly the leaders of old who led our people into slavery.
Yes, yes.
You know, who exchanged the people for mirrors.
Mirrors.
You know, for bangles on their hands. You know, we were very critical, and led by this same Mr. Museveni, who is now the superintendent of slavery in Uganda. He's the slave master, you know, the chief slave. You know? So, you know, the situation in which the country finds itself now, the desperation amongst the young people, you know, whether educated, whether uneducated, whether, you know, the desperation in the villages, which used to be prosperous. You know, village rural economy was vibrant. You know, that has gone. You know, of course, land has become less productive, understandably, because it is used more. There is no fertilizer that is applied. There is, you know, so people can't even produce enough to eat. There is hunger. You see, everybody is miserable in the villages. Hunger in the villages was never heard of. People are also looking for posho in the villages. A kilo of posho now is, I think, approaching 5,000 shillings.
Yes.
A kilo of posho, you know. So the desperation in the country. Those who captured the country simply have no knowledge. They have no understanding. That's why you can see them, you know, happy to make parties and celebrate and say things are okay and, you know, but the situation in the country can no longer go on as it is. Simply change must happen. And those who are terribly bad off are not just even those who have no jobs, but even those who have jobs, including our soldiers, you know? The situation of soldiers in this country, whether they are policemen, whether they are UPDF, whether like those, whether they are, I don't know whether those were crime preventers, the one I met running this morning, you know, their situation is horrific, you know, to be working 24 hours because those in the security are not like teachers who teach during teaching hours. And then they can go and attend to their gardens and maybe do some business. On weekends they are free. People in security work 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They are employed, earning literally nothing. If they did not have those uniforms, that's why you see them even in town. Even when they are given the pass, they have to go in their uniform because, you know, they can't even afford decent clothing. Their children are living in misery, without accommodation, without decent schools, without health care. With, you know, the situation in the people who do decent work is horrible. This cannot simply continue. So I am optimistic myself that the watershed time is with us. Transition must happen. It's no longer a debate. It simply must happen. Not Mao's transition, but transition of ending gun rule that has co-opted Mao. It must end. And power must go back to people so that they pick up their broken lives and see how to rebuild them with their energy and resources that our country has.
Yes, Doctor, as we are coming towards the end, there is also a comment here from Asime Rikpo. It says, I concur with Dr. KB. Let those in the struggle and earning in government effectively support the struggle and have a peaceful transition instead of stomaching everything by themselves. Shafiq Sanya says, ask Doctor, why is Rwanda growing so faster than us? Again, ask him, why is it that baboons were taken to Rwanda, yet we also have a tourism management at home? Okay, Doctor, I think you respond to those and we finally get out of here.
Yeah, well, I think the other one was simply supporting. The one who was saying Rwanda is developing more than us. Rwanda has a serious government. I must say, yes, Rwanda has a very, very serious government. I think President Kagame, he's been criticized for not being democratic. I wouldn't want to venture there, but he has I think been effective, has an effective government, a disciplined government that applies resources to people's needs. That's why our teachers run to Rwanda. In fact, if it was not the recent conflict between Rwanda and Uganda, many Ugandans were teaching in Rwanda, including up to the university, from lower schools up to the university. And the best teacher, they would recruit the best teachers because they were paying them.
You would imagine those we are left with.
Because they were paying them better than our own teachers. Medical people were going to work in Rwanda. My professors who taught me what were working in a Rwanda establishment because they were paid. So they have been focused on service delivery, on fighting corruption. In Rwanda, you cannot, see a policeman on the road and give him, 5,000 like you see here, liberally happen. So I think they have been having an effective government in terms of service delivery. And that is, you see, that is in spite of huge challenges that we must also appreciate happen in Rwanda, because genocide there was real. There was a genocide. There is still a lot of tension between communities. Some who live outside Rwanda now, and so on. So there is a real situation, political situation that they are grappling with, which is, I think, more serious than the political situation here in terms of how society, our people relate. But in spite of that, they have been able indeed to grow fast. I'm sure they would grow much, much faster if those challenges that they still grapple with were resolved. But certainly, they have performed, I think, better than Uganda in terms of development of their infrastructure, if you see the roads, and they have been constructing roads much cheaper than Uganda, but much better roads than Uganda. So it's all about effectiveness, and I think managing prudently, their resources. As I have said, the challenge which I think they will have to overcome is that of some who feel that they are not as participating and engaged, and that is which is historical, the historical challenge. They will have to resolve that.
Yes, and you attach all that to Rwanda having a serious government.
Effective, yes, effective. It's an effective. For example, they said no Buvera in Rwanda, and you will not find any Kavera anywhere in Rwanda. How many times have they banned Buvera? But you go everywhere. It's like a Buvera country, But anywhere you turn, you are covered in Buvera. Yet there have been, pronouncements they will be from by this time, so we simply don't have I've said so many times, we don't have a government here. We just have a cabal of thieves and
Okay, Doctor, we need to get out of here. Please say bye-bye to our viewers and appreciate them for the
maybe
time.
Before I say bye, I should send my very, very best wishes to our young people who are facing exams, the senior 4 candidates, the P7 candidates, and eventually the senior 6 candidates, and everybody who is facing an exam soon. Please don't cheat, because cheating is cheating yourself and cheating the country. Work hard, and I wish you all the best in your exams. And also all the rest of Ugandans out there, I know how tough it is, but hang in there and be firm, remain focused. We can change this country, and we shall change this country by the grace of God. I wish you a great weekend. Be blessed. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you for the wonderful time that you've always accorded to us. To you, our viewers, we really appreciate the time that you also give in, your data, the resources that you put in us so that you may support this cause. Remained Nixon Segawa. Let us meet next Saturday on the same show. Keep on the alternative. Keep on the Digitalk TV.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.